Hello, nature journalers. My name is Kate. I'm a nature journaler and a nature journal educator, and today I'm going to swatch out two sets of tools I use for color media, not just in my own nature journal, but also in workshops that I facilitate and lead. So we're going to be covering these materials. I'm going to set this aside for now, and let's dive in with the color media in colored pencils. The colored pencils I really like to use are these. These are Rarlan. They are student grade. They're a set of 12. You can buy them in bulk for packages of 36. It evens out with tax and shipping to be about $1.25 for a set of 12, which is a screamin' deal. There's a few specific reasons I like this brand. First of all, it is very price effective. They're all wooden pencils. There are a set of 12, including a sneaky white one in here. And they have a few things going for them. The first is they're not round, so they don't roll. Surprisingly helpful. The second is it's got a pretty good range of colors. And the third is they come pre-sharpened, which if you've ever worked with a group of folks and you've ended up with colored pencils that are not pre-sharpened, you will know why this is so much of an improvement. There's a couple other special things that I really enjoy about this specific brand. But let's just get into swatching out. Anytime I get a new set of materials, I like to swatch out the colors or the line weights or whatever that material is so that I can understand how to best put it to use in my nature journaling activities. And swatching out is pretty simple. You just have a level of labels for each of the colors, and then you just color those in and test it out. So that is what I'm going to do with this set first. And then we'll do it for the paints next. So because this can be a little time consuming, probably just gonna do a fast forward, but this kind of color swatching can be quite meditative, quite restful, and I encourage you to take your time and enjoy it. So I'll be back when this section is fully swatched out. Okay, so now I have a visual of what all those different colors can look like. But as I mentioned, this set has a couple special things going on with it. And if you'll notice on this little printout I made to help swatch it out, there's 3 of these that are a little bit bolder. And that is this pink, which I'm going to use to color in over here, magenta, the yellow, which I'll color in here, and then this sky blue, which I'll color in over here. Now what's interesting about these is these are actually primary colors that you can do a lot of layering and mixing for and get a wonderful range of colors. We often think of primary colors as red and yellow and blue, but it turns out the magenta, yellow, and cyan are truly primaries that allow you much more opportunities to mix much more specific colors. So we'll cover that in a color mixing video, but I just want to highlight that any pencil kit you get or set you get for yourself or for others, see if they can have a magenta-like, a yellow-like, and a cyan-like. Now, for folks out there who already know about this kind of color mixing, this is not the best magenta, but you know, it works surprisingly well. So this is the colored pencil choice of that I prefer, and I hope that might work for you too. So let's go ahead and get on then with the watercolors. I'm going to set the pencils aside. And for watercolor, I use a specific kind of custom-made palette called Palette to Go. It's a great field palette. It includes pigments from Daniel Smith. There are 10 pigments on here. They're kind of dark, not just in the video, but actually in real life. So it's helpful to swatch those out and really understand what the colors are going to look like when they get applied to a page. So I'm going to go ahead and do this. I'm going to just talk you through the reasons that some of these colors were chosen. Again, they're all Daniel Smith. When you assemble a palette like this, coming from tube watercolors onto its own custom thing, It comes out to about $5 each, but you do need to buy the watercolor tubes, and that can be about $100. You just get a lot more palettes out of them. So let's get started. With any yellow, I like to do 2 blobs of yellow so that I can have one, as you can see, is kind of mucky here, one clean yellow and one mixing yellow. Right now I'm using a water brush, Pentel Aquash, to apply the colors. I'm also going to use this handy arm sock with the water brush so that I can clean the pigments off pretty quickly. The next color in the palette is a Quinacridone pink. It's a good, strong fuchsia. Looks a little bit more red on the screen, but it's kind of a really nice pink. Phthalo blue green shade, staining, so it's pretty intense, but this is a really good mixing blue. These will function as our primaries. I'll get into that in a second. I'm also a big fan of buff titanium. I know that this is a pigment that other people prefer not. It is not a lighter color. It can't mix in as a white. You'd need to use a white gouache if you want to bring in highlights. But buff titanium can add a milky or a creamy feeling. I especially find that helpful in journaling succulents or plants or any kind of natural phenomena that has almost a creamy or almost milky quality. So I really like it as a mixing color. Then there's Shadow Violet, which is not really a black, but it's a nice soft gray. It will granulate out, which means it will separate out into its source pigments of red and blue, and so kind of give you this lovely purple, almost a silvery shadow color. It's quite subtle, but it's a lovely mixing color, and it's just a wonderful pigment on its own. Coming over to the other side, we have Yellow Ocher, a little bit more of an earthy yellow. This one doesn't have a ton of pigment intensity in it, so it goes down pretty thin, pretty transparently, and so you sometimes have to load up quite a bit of pigment if you want a stronger hue, but I like it as a mixing color, especially with a blue for very soft and lovely greens. On the other end of the loudness spectrum is Carbazole Violet, which, wow, that really is super intense, quite staining, and is this vivid, bright and intense purple. Really fun. I think purple and yellow are one of my favorite browns, and purple and a little bit of a sap green, which we'll get to, makes for a really interesting sagey green. We have Ultramarine blue, which most of us know when we think of the hue of blue. It's kind of a good mid-blue, great for skies, really lovely as a layering color, can get quite transparent and very calming. And then a convenience green, which is sap green. I think it's a favorite of many watercolorists and nature journalers. Kind of got a little bit of a sagey brownish quality to it, but a really good solid green. It can move into the hot limes if you mix it with the Hansa Yellow Light, or into something a little bit more moody if you have an ultramarine or a phthalo blue green shade mix. And then a raw umber. Always nice to have a good basic brown in your kit. It's pretty good natured and a nice mixing color. So now we've swatched out all of these colors, and like we did with the colored pencils, I'm going to pick out the 3 that are going to function as the primaries for the best, cleanest mixes. And that is this Hansa Yellow Light, which is pretty lemony. You'll notice it's a lot more lemony than the yellow down in the colored pencils, which has a little bit more of a sunny look to it. This would be your preferred primary. If you can get a pencil that's more like a lemon rather than a sunshine, this will be your go-to. For the magenta, we're going to come back to this Quinacridone pink. Took me a long time to learn to pronounce that. Worth it. So that's a nice pink. Again, in the video it looks a little more red, but it is a pretty good fuchsia. And then for the cyan, we're going to pick out the phthalo blue green shade. Try and make it a little lighter so you can see that it has a little more personality than the intensity over here. And that will function as our cyan. The reason we want these 3 primaries and these 3 primaries is they give you an incredibly good base for mixing, and that's what we'll cover in another video. Anytime I get new hues or new materials, like I mentioned, I love to swatch it out. It's restful. It's a way of saying hello to the new material, inviting it into your nature journaling or your visual practice in a good-hearted way. You'll get to know each other over time. And one of the things I really like to do is to just put that on the back of my nature journal. So anytime there's new materials, try and swatch it out so that I can see how the specific hues and pigments will play along with the paper and any pen or ink media. And I'll do that for the pencils and also for the palette. All right, so that gets us to swatching out this specific set of watercolor hues and the Rarlan pencils. And I will see you in another video where we'll do some color mixing, and happy nature journaling.